If you're planning to buy Marvel Champions, allow me to be the first to say, welcome to the Avengers. I'm VillainTheory, my channel is completely dedicated to this game. I've put an ungodly amount of hours into Marvel Champions, and I'm fairly well known as a deck builder as well. Now, we're going to start with the core set. That is what you need to actually play the game. It should be everyone's first purchase. But we've also got campaign boxes, we've got hero packs, we've got scenario packs, and I'll explain what all those are as we move through the video. So the core set is really, really good. 5 heroes, 3 villains, or scenarios as they're properly called. Really good deck building cards. We're 7 expansions into this game at the time I record this, and the heroes are still really good. I play them still regularly. The villains, incredible. The last 2, honestly, are probably my top 10 villains. We have around 40 now, I think. And the deck building cards we still use all the time as well. Some of them didn't quite keep up, but I mean, the vast majority is still really, really good. And if you're just starting out, they're all obviously very useful. Comes with a standard set, which won't mean anything if you're new to the game, but you need it for basically every scenario. And it's got all the tokens, dials, the actual kind of, physical components that you will need to play the game. So everyone should be starting with a core set. It's a very, very good product, aged very, very well. Next up, I'm going to talk about the campaign boxes. They give you the best value for money. You get 5 new villains and 2 new heroes. Kind of the opposite of the core box in a way, but they provide tons and tons of value for what you spend. And the one I recommend starting with is Rise of Red Skull. Now, it's got a really good difficulty if you've just played the core set. It's not a lot different in all honesty. The campaign mode, which is where you play all the scenarios in a row, there's kind of a story, there's a comic to go with it. That helps you. Some of the campaign modes in some of the other campaign boxes, the campaign modes make the scenarios more difficult. In this one, they are all, I'd say, a little bit easier in general, which if you're just starting out and you're playing for it, let's say the first time in campaign mode, then you obviously want it to be easier then. So that's a really good way around. Definitely, if you've got this box, I recommend starting to play it in campaign mode. And the villains are just timeless. I was playing against Red Skull himself just a couple days ago. Really, really fun. There's so many good villains, so many good things in this box, as well as modular sets, which are things you can use to customize the villains. If you want to put, let's say, Thanos on a Goblin Glider, this is the game to do it. And like I said, it also comes with a couple of heroes. One of them is in my top 3 heroes, and we now have 50 heroes to give you some idea. So honestly, Rise of Red Skull, I cannot endorse this enough as your first product after the core set in Marvel Champions. Next up, I would go on to hero packs, and that's a pack which just has 1 hero in it and a bunch of cards for deck building, and sometimes some other cards at the back of the pack which work with the other aspects. And what is an aspect, you might ask? Aspects are the classes in basically this game. So when you go to build a deck, you pick a hero, they've got a few cards specific to that hero, and then you pick, an aspect, your kind of, your class. There's aggression, protection, justice, and leadership. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses. And Doctor Strange here, which is the first hero pack I'll recommend to you, comes with protection. Why do I recommend him first? Well, in the core box, the protection cards are actually really, really good, but they don't really form a cohesive deck together. They kind of things you want to put into another protection deck and make them work alongside that. Doctor Strange, however, comes with all those protection cards you need. He kind of saves protection. It's still fine, but it's just a lot better if you have this pack, in all honesty. And he's a very good hero himself, very, very strong. So, very good for new players in that regard. Just be aware that if you go to play another hero, Doctor Strange is more of the exception. Don't think badly of the other hero if they don't feel quite as strong. And other than him having really good protection cards for basically everybody, he has really good back of the pack cards. So he comes with a couple of aggression cards called Skilled Strike. He comes with a leadership ally called Iron Man, and we all like Iron Man. Those cards are really good and get used all the time to this day as well. So absolutely fantastic pack all around here. Then for leadership, I actually think Ant-Man and Captain America's hero packs are neck and neck. So if you want to build up your leadership cards, either of them, you can't really go wrong. They both have cards that work well with Avenger heroes, which all the heroes in the core set are Avengers. Doctor Strange is an Avenger. So if you're following along with this, you're going to have a lot of Avengers and have a really good time with these cards. I give Ant-Man the slight edge. His cards are less dependent on Avengers, so if you want to get different heroes further down the line, then his cards will work a bit better with those. His cards also work really well with the Iron Man ally that we just talked about coming from Doctor Strange. And he also comes with this card called Assess the Situation, which is a basic card. So when you're building a deck, you pick your aspect and build cards into it from that aspect, but you can also have basic cards, which are effectively neutral that you can incorporate into any aspect deck no matter what you chose. He comes with 3 called Assess the Situation. They're kind of like filler cards, which might not sound that exciting, but while your collection is small, they're going to help you out, just fill your decks when you need to get up to the minimum deck size and you're not sure what else to add. So I think that's really useful. Captain America, though, Ant-Man, both really good heroes for new players as well. Captain America probably has a slight edge there. Next up, I would be looking for an aggression pack. I would probably look for Wasp. Wasp is quite an interesting hero herself. She actually has 2 different hero forms, which probably means nothing to you if you've not played the game yet, but effectively she can change between being tiny and big, and that's pretty fun. Now, she has some really good basic cards, those neutral cards anyone can use, notably Ironheart and Spider-Man Miles Morales, the allies. Add them into any deck, Really, really solid cards. We still use those a lot today. They are quite powerful. And if you're not sure what to add into your deck, if you only have a small collection and you're just starting out, those really, really help out. But she also comes with good aggression cards. My favorite is Boot Camp, which means all your allies get a bonus to attacking. So you can start to build aggression with lots of allies, and it's kind of a different way to play it that I really, really enjoy. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch for Justice, the final of the 4 main aspects, and she is super, super fun, and she has some amazing Justice cards. Her events are really good. She comes with a really good ally, just really solid for Justice. Your Justice games will just feel completely revolutionized if you bought Scarlet Witch and you only had the core set as Justice cards before that point, or Rise of Red Skull, that comes with some Justice cards too. And she is a Mystic, which is a trait that she shares with Doctor Strange. They're the magic sort of users, and they have cards that can work with each other. Doctor Strange comes with the Sorcerer Supreme, Scarlet Witch comes with a card called Spiritual Meditation, but those work with each other, so if you're following along with this, those work together really, really nicely. So if you're new to the game, that is what I would buy. Rise of Red Skull campaign box, and then I'd buy 1 hero pack for each of the aspects. One of those I've suggested here, and the reason I say this is I really think if you've got the core box, you'll have lots of heroes that you can play in all these different aspects. You'll need some villains. That's where the campaign box comes in with 5 new ones. But when you're playing through all these new scenarios and villains, what you might want are better decks, not just in terms of power, but variety. If you have better choices in the aspects for the cards you're taking, your experience playing through those scenarios will be enriched. You'll have more interesting combos, just have more fun in general. And obviously it depends on your time to money. If you do not have a lot of money, just stick with, 1 campaign expansion or anything like that. You'll still have hours and hours of fun, I promise you. But if you can afford it, really getting some more options, I think, is quite a big deal. You can introduce them slowly. Although I will say one thing here, one small caveat that goes against the rest of this guide. If you really, really like one hero or one theme like the Guardians or, Spider characters, if you really like a certain villain or something, if you buy the box or pack that has that character in, that's probably going to give you more fun than everything else here. So buy what you want to buy, but other than that, this is exactly how I would personally buy things, going about it again. So after I had an expansion, Rise of Red Skull, and 1 hero pack for every aspect, I'd be looking for another campaign box, because now my heroes are really starting to outnumber my scenarios, and I want some more variety. And I would actually skip from Rise of Red Skull, which is actually the first expansion, to Next Evolution, which at the time of recording is the latest expansion. And Next Evolution is a super, super good expansion. Really, really fun. The difficulty, again, is actually not that hard. I'd say next to Rise of Red Skull, it's probably the next easiest expansion, but, if you're a new player, you definitely don't want to save the easier ones until later, I don't think. And it's not strictly easy, and you can play on expert mode. There are different difficulty levels you can play on, but it's definitely the right place to start if you want to ascend into more difficult scenarios. Again, the campaign mode in Next Evolution is quite helpful for the player. It comes with these things called superpower modulars. There are different modular sets to change up the villains. The superpower ones are particularly interesting because they change up the villains at the very start of the game. Normally the modulars come into effect as you play through the game, but these superpower ones affect the villain from the very start, so you have a very different experience from the beginning. They add a lot more difficulty, I would say, but it's kind of a gap between, if you're playing on standard mode with the superpower modulars, it's probably not going to be as hard as playing on expert mode, so it's kind of a nice middle ground. And if you want even harder than expert mode without going up to any kind of crazy levels of difficulty, you can just add one of these onto a villain. You can give any villain the ability to fly, super strength, or the power of telepathy. Very, very fun, and that's super useful to me. I love to use these all the time now. And Next Evolution also introduces a new card type in terms of player side schemes, and if you've not played the game before, that won't mean much to you, but long story short, you can kind of introduce a challenge to yourself to overcome, and when you overcome it, you get a big reward, which is a really fun kind of dynamic new card type. It's really changed up deck building for a lot of characters. It's very, very fun, and personally, I would want to get in on that as soon as I could. Now, I do need to warn you, the heroes in this box, who are Cable and Domino, and also these scenarios, they are a little bit more complex than the previous things we've looked at. They are obviously a lot newer. There are a few more moving parts, a few more things to keep in mind. But if you've played through all the other scenarios, played a few of the other heroes here, you should have a pretty good grasp of the game. They're not that difficult, just more difficult. And even if you don't play the heroes to perfection, they're strong enough that you'll still have a really good time. So you've got 2 expansions, you've got a few hero packs. Where next? I would get a few more hero packs in all honesty, for the same reasons I said before. I just think having more options, more deck building kind of variety is just going to give you a more enriched experience as you play through the scenarios and experiment with all the different heroes. So very simply, for leadership, if you didn't buy Ant-Man before, I'd get him. If you didn't buy Captain America before, I'd get him. If you bought both of them before, just look at the different leadership packs. You can find lists online and things. Pick your favorite one, because they're all pretty even, all pretty good. I think these 2 stand out as the kind of more accessible new player ones. So once you've got these, feel free to just go crazy with what you want. For protection, I'd go with SPDR. I think it's pronounced Spider. Interesting pronunciation nonetheless. And what she does is she fixes 14 HP heroes. And All the heroes with 14 or more hit points are actually perfectly playable for the most part. They're really good, but maybe not as good as the designers intended, I would say. And she comes with some cards that only 14 HP heroes can use that are very powerful, called Limitless Stamina and Unshakable. Limitless Stamina especially is a very, very good card that these characters will want to use. So if you have any 14 HP heroes, and She-Hulk from the core set is one of them, it will be really, really useful. And even if you don't have many at this point, you will probably be getting some. Trust me, there's quite a few of them, and they all love what SPDR brings from her sort of deck building cards. She also comes with Repurpose, which is a different way to play protection. That's not about, protecting and being defensive so much. It's really, really fun. It's one of my favorite cards in the game. It lets you kind of use tech cards, energy barriers, things like that, repurpose them into different stat boosts. It's really, really fun. It's too technical to go into on this kind of video, but I love it. She comes with it. Super, super highly recommended. It works on almost every hero. And she's extremely unique. She's one of the most different heroes in the game. She is very unusual compared to the others. I think you'll find her really refreshing to play. Next up, we have Spider-Ham, who comes with an amazing Justice pack. He's also a very good hero for new players to play, also young players. He's got some fun kind of optional stuff on his cards, like, when you play a certain card, maybe it'll ask you to, high-five somebody. So if you want to play with younger players at the table, Spider-Ham is a very fun one for that. But honestly, if you ignore that kind of funny kind of side of him, I think he's still a really fun hero. He has a bit of a bad reputation. I think people think he's too silly for their comic book card game, but he's really fun. I really enjoy him. And the cards he comes with for Justice are honestly game-changing, a bit like Scarlet Witches in a way, but definitely recommend Spider-Ham. Again, not an Avenger, neither was SPDR Spider. They're both Web Warriors, which is kind of a different type of, group, superhero group, but you can start to use the cards from SPDR on Spider-Ham, and Spider-Ham's cards on her as well, so these start to go together quite nicely. I should have said SPDR also comes with a little card called Clarity of Purpose, which will enhance all your leadership decks quite a lot. Next up, we have Nova, who is very, very fun. I really enjoy him. He's a very fast-paced kind of hero. So he comes with Hone Technique and Fluid Motion, which are both kind of the core pieces, the kind of build-around cards that define these two archetypes, which are really, really fun. You can put them on quite a few heroes, so I think that's really good value. And Hone Technique is one of those cards that interacts with attack events. Almost every aggression pack you get going forward is going to have some kind of attack in it that will combo with Hone Technique. Not all of them probably, but most of them. So that concludes looking at one hero pack in each of the aspects again. So if you followed along and bought everything along with this, which you might not have, but hopefully it's been useful in some capacity like that, you will now have 2 expansions and 8 hero packs. You will have 2 packs for every aspect. You'll have a lot of good aspect stuff from the expansions as well, lots of villains. And once you're here, you can kind of do anything you like in terms of buying from this point onwards. You'll have a absolutely rock solid foundation, which you can just, oh, I want some more villains. Oh, I want some more deck building options. I really like this hero. Do anything you like, and it's probably going to work out really well. And you'll have really good cards that will now work with them. For me personally, I'd probably go for another expansion. And if you ask me which one, though, I couldn't tell you because they're all really, really good. If I had to have an opinion, I probably could, but I would say whichever one seems the most fun to you, you should go for. They're all great value, all super fun. But if I had to say one was less super fun than the others, it would be Galaxy's Most Wanted. And one of the big reasons for this is it is by far the most difficult expansion in all of Marvel Champions. It is only the second expansion, but nothing has really come close. Maybe one villain has rivaled the hardest villain from this box, but the overall package, it is just quite brutal. It will humble you, especially on campaign mode, especially on expert mode and expert campaign mode. You will suffer and it will hurt you. So definitely, I would say get this one last if you want to buy them in terms of, ascending difficulty. If you really want a challenge, or if you really love the Guardians, you can go for it, but I warned you. Next up, I want to talk about scenario packs, which are basically kind of like hero packs, but for scenarios, kind of, for villains. So you can buy a pack like Green Goblin, and it comes with 2 new scenarios. The Once and Future King pack comes with 1 new scenario, but it's a very big, expansive scenario. It's very epic, I would say cinematic, really has a lot of replayability. So they vary in terms of how many villains / scenarios you get, but they all have at least 1, and they are all very, very interesting. Some of the best scenarios in the game are found in scenario packs because they can dedicate all the cards to those scenarios. I would recommend the Green Goblin pack if you want a interesting villain. He actually comes with those 2 scenarios. One of them is very good, I would say, for new players. The other one is timeless on one of the most beloved scenarios in the entire game of Marvel Champions. So really, really fun. Comes with a lot of fun modular sets as well. If you want to put a Goblin Glider on Thanos, like I said, this is how you start to do that. Thanos comes in the Mad Titan's Shadow expansion as well, as a heads up. Also a pretty good one for new players. The expansion's already good. So scenario packs, I'd start with Green Goblin, but I also think the Once and Future Kang is really, really good as well. Once you've had those two, I would then suggest Mojo Mania, which is actually my favorite scenario pack, but I'd say the complexity is a little bit higher than the other ones, even if it's not maybe higher in difficulty if you play it on standard mode. The expert mode for Mojo Mania is harder than most expert modes for most scenarios, so keep that in mind. But really, if you're playing standard Mojo Mania, the difficulty is going to be really good for you no matter what stage your collection is at, but they play a little bit differently to some scenarios. So maybe a pinch of caution there, but they are super, super fun and have lots of really good modulars. You know, if you've ever wanted to give a pet dragon to Ultron, this is the pack to let you do that. It comes with the fantasy modular set. Ultron is in the core box and you can make that happen. So in summary, I start with Rise of Red Skull, move on to next evolution, then you can kind of buy any expansion you want. If you want some scenario packs, that's the order I'd recommend them as well. If you buy just the core set and 2 expansions, you'll have 13 different scenarios, which is tons of variety, especially considering how you can change them up with those modular sets. In terms of heroes, if you follow everything in this guide, you will have 17 different heroes, which is a staggering amount, considering they can all be played in different aspects. There are 4 different aspects. They can all be played in all the different aspects. Some work better than others, but they all work and they're all worth exploring. They're very, very fun. I've put a little asterisk after some of the heroes here. These are the heroes that I think are especially good for new players. Now, in the core set, I have 3 of them, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther, I think are especially friendly to new players. But if you've sort of bought a bulk lot of heroes and you're not sure who to, play or give to your friend to play, then the ones for stars here, they either have, they're quite powerful and have room for error, or they're just, good all-rounders and can kind of handle any scenario well, or they're not too complicated. Most of them fulfill all of those things, so they're quite good in that regard. So definitely recommend them, and generally recommend all of these. Really, really good packs in general as well to get deck building cards. But I want to add in a couple of more just extras. If you are primarily a solo player, you might want to consider getting Wolverine's pack or Gambit / the Mutant Genesis sort of a campaign box. So Wolverine's pack comes with Psylocke and Sunfire, who are 2 really, really good allies. Gambit's hero pack or the Mutant Genesis campaign expansion, they both come with Professor X, a copy of him. He's a basic card, can go into any deck, and he can also confuse the villain. So if you play solo a lot and you really want to up your game and maybe make things a little bit easier, get a bit more powerful, take on some bigger challenges maybe, these are some good packs to help you do that. But Wolverine is also a really good hero for new players as well. Now, in terms of recommending aggression packs, he fell just behind Wasp and Nova in terms of really fully recommending him over them, but he's the next one in line. He's so close. If I had to pick one extra from any aspect, get Wolverine's pack. Really good cards for deck building, honestly. Really, really good hero for new players, just manages health. And also recommend Gamora and Venom. Very, very good heroes for new players. And on that note, maybe there are some heroes that are not so good for new players, and I would say, sadly, that those are Hulk and Valkyrie. I know some veteran players watching this will not want me to put anyone off any of the heroes, and absolutely, these are worth exploring, playing, buying, but if you play solo especially, and if you play, kind of the normal way, maybe you've got a smaller card pool, this is going to be like playing on hard mode. They just have a couple of flaws that can be really, really strongly felt in solo play, I would say. So, word of warning, if I was buying the game new, I'd want someone to warn me about these. They do have some good deck building cards in them, Hulk especially, really, really good. But yeah, I probably wouldn't be trying to get these too early on if I were you, but definitely have a look through their cards, see what you think. If you're a super fan of Hulk, just buy him anyway. But yeah, just a little word of caution there. So that concludes the guide here. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I have lots and lots of videos on Marvel Champions and lots more to come. I'm kind of known as the kind of quite analytical YouTuber for Marvel Champions. If you like to get into the really tactical side or deck building, anything like that, I definitely recommend my channel. And hopefully this has been useful. If you want to get more involved in the community, definitely check out my Discord server for the channel. It actually has a channel in the Discord server for new players. If you need any help, go ahead and ask. There's lots of people there ready to help. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and welcome again to Marvel Champions. Bye.